Hello, and welcome to Love People Use Things Book Club. This is chapter 6, creativity. It's not about creativity. We'll get to it. We'll go. Okay, let's go. So as much as I love that these boys tried to boil down into the most minimal way possible creativity as a whole, they don't mean creativity. They mean productivity. They're just using that word to sound hip. But look, I'm not gonna nitpick. Let's just get into the questions. Question 1. How is procrastination affecting your life? How many times have I started a task in my house or a chore or started putting away laundry and get halfway done and get distracted and go off and do something else and then come back and be like, why is there laundry left on the bed? Oh, right. There are just so many things to distract us in the modern world today, right? We have phones in our pockets all the time. There are TVs, there are ads, there's Spotify, there's news, and it's all with us all the time. All of those distractions are the perfect excuse to procrastinate. And there are so many good distractions. They're not all bad. So being able to filter out what actually needs to happen in each moment is really not helping my procrastination. That also goes for my work too. So I have a lot of really great projects and really great ideas that have been started very well, but I don't really have a ton of completed assets in terms of my work and my life for where I'm at 30 years old. And I think that's because I'm really good at procrastinating, or at least distracting myself. I think a lot of us are good at that. And then we look back and we're like, oh God, what did we do? The idea that you don't want to look back on your life and see that you hadn't done anything. It's like, well, you obviously lived 70, 80 years. What did you do? Oh, you were filling your life up with distractions, with procrastinations. I definitely don't want to start living in terms of, oh, I need to have a great list of accomplishments at the end of my life. No, but I think this is a good checkpoint for me to sit and be like, ooh, well, I spent my 20s not doing the things that I wanted to do. Maybe I can spend my 30s being better. So that's kind of how procrastination has affected my life. Question 2. How are distractions getting in the way of your creativity? The obvious issue is apparently, according to my iPhone, I spend an average of 3 hours a day staring at this tiny screen. Sometimes looking at Instagram and looking at Facebook and looking at Instagram Reels really does help my creativity. It inspires me to go and make reels of my own. But most of the time I'm just scrolling. It's almost like a cigarette. Like, I don't even think about it. If I'm just bored and I don't want to be present in the moment, I grab my phone. I don't need to be playing dumb phone games or looking at Instagram for the 100th time. 3 hours a day? What could I accomplish in 3 hours a day? Well, I'm doing this now, so I guess that's better. Now, I want to be clear. I don't need to have something to show for every minute of every day. That's not the point. But if I look back on what I've spent my time doing this week, most of the stuff I am proud of. But I definitely can go ahead and delete the phone games. And spending 3 hours a day looking at my phone is not helping me make the world a better place. It is not helping me reach my goals of being useful. It doesn't reflect my values. It's okay to sit and scroll on my phone, but I need to remember it's not okay to do it 3 hours a day. Thank you, Apple, for reminding us that we all need to do better. Question 3. Do you consider yourself busy or focused? Why? Today, I am focused because I am doing things like this, which help me reach goals that I have set for myself based on my values and things I want to accomplish. I'm making those easy, actionable items a reality. But let's be real, most of the time I'm just busy, going from one thing I've promised to do to the next thing I've promised to do. Sometimes going from task to task is all I can handle, so I'm not gonna beat myself up for that. Even breaking down larger tasks, like developing a YouTube channel, into smaller actionable steps, like making one video. It still can sometimes feel overwhelming. It still feels like a mountain that has to be climbed, that I'm wearing sandals. I am just not prepared. For a long time, my anxiety would take over and I just wouldn't do it. I'd be paralyzed. But now that I've got some better momentum and some better feelings, it's easier to shut that anxiety off and focus it into something that's a little bit more productive. I can still feel those feelings, but I don't have to be completely disabled by them. I'm also a believer in positive words and the specific language that you choose to use with yourself. So I really like that we've got this idea of it's not busy, I'm focused. Because focused makes the time that you're working on something and you get lost in something feel more valuable. Busy just feels, it's got a bad connotation, I think, socially, but also just for me. So I think I'm gonna try to start using that, the idea of I'm focused because I have this task that I need to accomplish. I don't think any of us need to be more busy. I think if COVID has taught me anything, it's that I wanna be less busy. I wanna choose the jobs that I'm doing more thoughtfully. Question 4, what would you like to focus on more? Why? I'd like to focus on unifying my creative endeavors a little bit more. There are so many platforms, there are so many things to do, there are so many places that you apparently have to be in order to be successful at all, and that's fine. There are lots of ways to manage all of the platforms so that you can reach out to the people that you like the best and that like you the best and yada 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 yada. Well, I'd like to see how all of these different creative endeavors, like making videos for YouTube, can make my other artistic endeavors even better. So learning all this stuff about video filming is helping my photography. My photography has helped definitely inform how to start doing this nonsense. Because if I can unify all the creative things that I do and that I love and stop doing the creative things that I don't necessarily love, I feel like it's gonna deepen my purpose in what I create. Question 5, how often do you get out of your comfort zone? You know, not as often as I want to. Probably because the things that I'm good at, I do for money. And so I want to keep doing them well so that I can continue to make money. If I start going off the rails, I'm worried that I won't have the ability to make money at it anymore, which isn't true, obviously. I say it out loud, it sounds dumb. But I also enjoy the box. And Joshua talked a little bit about that in this chapter, right? Like the idea that sometimes you can work more creatively within set boundaries, and that 100% is me. I like some very specific rules, and within those rules, I'm going to find the most creative solution to whatever problem I'm trying to solve. I'm not so into the thing of creativity is just the process of solving problems and asking yourself questions. I don't think that's necessarily true. I would say this chapter is really good at confirming for people that maybe don't think they're creative, that they are creative, that everyone thinks creatively, just in a different way. So I think that Joshua did a really good job in this chapter of making this topic palatable for everyone. But as a creative person, and when I say a creative person, I mean a person who makes a living creating art, this is not a viable way to work, I don't think. It's not just about focus. Yes, I believe that artists need to sit down every day, and I need to use my camera every day, and a writer needs to sit down and write every day, and a dancer should probably move their body every day, 100%. I think that's probably good advice, but there are gonna be days where it's just not good. There are gonna be weeks where it's just not good. There's gonna be months and years where it's just not good. And he makes it seem like, oh no, if you practice a little bit every day, you're gonna be great. I don't think so. I don't think so. So I think I have a problem with like, not necessarily the seed of this chapter, but where we wanted to go and where we ended up going. Did I answer that question? Do I get out of my comfort zone? Yeah, a little bit, but not as often as I like to because I have to keep making money at what I do. And in order to do that, I have to kind of always do it well. And if I'm not doing it for money, sometimes I don't want to do it in my free time. Does that make sense? Anyway, those were the questions for chapter 6 of Love People Use Things. Let's get into the do's and don'ts. This boy literally has us pulling an art out of a hat. Then he's like, whichever one you want to come out of the hat, that's the one you should do. Yet again, this chapter was not written for people who are creatives, I don't think. If you're trying to start a new creative endeavor, maybe, I don't know, if you're like an accountant and you're like, I've always wanted to either paint or do improv, let me throw them in a hat and find out which one I should do. That's just how it's coming off. That's not necessarily, I'm not saying that's what he wanted us to do, but it's what it kind of sounds like. I do love that in the do's and don'ts, we are definitely focusing on what will make the world better. Because right now, in the age of COVID, we are all just making content and don't really know if it's gonna help or hurt any of us. Your content should have a purpose, and I think that's a really great thing to underline. I think a lot of creatives might benefit from hearing that. You want to add value to the world. No one wants to just create mindlessly. That seems very wasteful. We don't want to just produce, and it mean nothing. It couldn't be any more wasteful. We're using up not only physical resources a lot of the time, but mental resources, and obviously our time. So if you literally are like, I'm gonna quit my job as an accountant and want to be an artist of some type, go ahead and put some pieces of paper in a hat, I guess. But definitely write down on those pieces of paper things that will help the world. It's like the point of being an artist, of being a creative person. Practice your art and remove distractions so that you can practice your art. Yep, thank you so much for that. That's incredibly helpful. It's good. It's good stuff there. Real hard to just remove distractions. That's why in all the movies you see writers go off to like a villa in the south of Spain where there's no internet or whatever rich people do. Okay, to be fair, after I read this chapter, I did delete my dumb phone game because I have a bad habit of sitting on my phone, and that's a really big distraction for me. Also my house, I like to clean my house. I like to have a neat house. So if my house isn't neat, that's a distraction almost for me, and then I have to manage that, and it takes me away from what I should be creating or doing. So having less stuff in my house, becoming a minimalist, has really helped me with that distraction. So it's like a slow process. If you are in this process of de-distractifying your home and your workspace, I get it, especially if you're an artist with a lot of materials. Woof. It can be tough. I know, I get it, but streamlining is important. The don'ts of creativity. Don't cultivate your art for money. Heck yes, because doing something for money will drain the love you have for it. So there is that tough balance of trying to make the investment that you've put into your creative outlet, trying to get some of that investment back monetarily, really, and just saying it's just a hobby. What happens if I get a lot of people on board with this minimalism stuff and people think I'm funny and that I'm down to earth about this kind of stuff? Do I monetize it if I'm able to? Do I make this a source of income? Does that suck all the joy out of it? I don't know. That's like a case-by-case basis. But per this YouTube channel, I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because I want to get better at it. And for right now, I'm really enjoying it. So that was chapter 6. Love people use things. Creativity. Who knew? Being a minimalist could help you be more creative, aka productive. It's good. I'm glad they included this in this book. I know that I had some thoughts about money in the previous chapter, but this chapter helped me kind of get back on board. Joshua and Ryan might not be the most brilliant people I've ever met in my entire life, but they have gotten rid of distractions to the level that they have been able to output a ton of really good content. So, must be working for them. Might work for me too. So next, we have chapter 7, our final chapter. Chapter 7 is about people. Ooh, relationships with relationships. Ah! I'm not ready. We will wrap this party up together. Let's do it. We have one more. Ooh, one more video. I'm gonna miss y'all. Okay, go have a great rest of your day. Bye.